It was near the end of July, so it was already well into the second half of 2020. And with the average life expectancy in Canada being 80 years of age, I was also already into the second half of my life. I didn't know it then, but the decision I made to stay in the car with my coach Paula would ensure that the last half of my life would be the best half. The car was a figurative one. It symbolized the journey that my life coach and I were embarking on together. I was in the driver's seat, meaning that I determined the speed, maybe whether the windows or were up or down, or the temperature of the AC, or the heat, and primarily the route. But my coach, she had a magic map, and she could highlight for me alternative routes that I could take, where certain off ramps were located, or tell me the location of strategic pit stops where I could get some needed resources. But one day, Paula called me out on my driving habits, and I didn't quite like that. She was confronting me on several missed sessions and some that I had shown up late to. She let me know that she didn't really care to be a passenger in my car the way that it was being operated. She said that I was not respecting either her time or my commitment with my behavior. And that while she recognized that life happens and that sometimes we're all late, that how I showed up for one thing was most likely how I was showing up for everything. That last line really, really stung. As a person with a disability, I had spent a large portion of my life combating low expectations, aversion to alternate ways of completing tasks, and ableist attitudes and judgments in general. And what the hell was she talking about? I was doing extraordinarily well with my speaking engagements. My volunteer work was on track, and I was producing media on perspectives of disability issues that was really impactful. Yes, I had missed a couple of meetings and I'd been late for a couple more. I had two kids and a husband. That's a lot of responsibility. I listened with triggered ears, my body tense and flushed, as Paula said that if I were to make some, necessary adjustments to my driving, that, would be more respectful and comfortable for the both of us, that she would stay for the ride. In the moment, it was just taking me back to some unconscious traumatic experiences that immediately flipped the defensive switch with me. But now the ball was in my court. Should I throw her out, park the car and jet, or maybe even bolt while it was still running? I mean, I'm not going to put up with being criticized, right? I'd come too far, fought through too much mud and flack to give in now, right? I thought about all the progress that I had made over the years in combating adversity and with my own personal development. Her words, though, just kept ricocheting in my head. How you do one thing is how you do everything. I thought about it. Yeah, there were many things that I was knocking out of the park professionally, but there were others, mostly on the personal side, where I was constantly dropping the ball, not following through, and missing the mark. I might have been doing really great presentations, but I was not setting a lot of really necessary doctor's appointments. I wasn't spending the amount of time that I really wanted to with my children, or getting, tackling those really long overdue tasks around the house. And what about those, reactions that I was having? What about those remaining vestiges of fear around being criticized, judged, of being measured and found wanting, of being deemed less than, or for anyone to be overly focused on my areas of struggle rather than where I was excelling? So the fact that I had a visceral and immediate reaction to Paula's challenges was actually no surprise once I was willing to honestly reflect on it. How you do one thing is how you do everything. I didn't want to admit it, but she was right. And my spirit was just restless with the weight of the truth. What would going forward cost me, though? Staying in the car meant sitting in discomfort. It meant looking in the mirror and facing my flaws, acknowledging my areas of need and growth without making excuses. Before I could change my mind, I wrote Paula an email admitting the veracity of her words. I had not been showing up fully and bringing my full self to the relationship. I outlined my ways of processing information, renewed my commitment, and created an accountability plan. And then I hit the send button before my ego could stop me. I chose to stay in the car and continue the journey. Staying in the car meant being open and vulnerable to building trust with my coach, tackling those limiting beliefs and behaviors that no longer served me, and helping, going along with her to get familiar with having exactly what it was that I wanted. It's not easy for any of us to look deep inside and confront the aspects of ourselves that need improving. But for those who are able to dive headfirst into that abyss, you'll definitely and inevitably come through that excursion better for it. I learned that giving yourself excuses not to do the things that you needed to do only kept you stuck. We have the power to determine and design the lives that we want, but that proverbial clock is ticking. And whether it's the second half of your life or just the second half of your year, when we are willing to embrace vulnerability, it allows us to effectively situate ourselves in the driver's seat, taking full ownership of our own growth and development, our journey to build the life of our dreams. I have been many different types of women in my life. I have been the advocate and I have been the anarchist. I have been the inventor and the explorer. I have even been the teacher and the warrior. But the woman that has brought me the most value in my life has been the vulnerable learner. Thanks, everyone.